What's up, guys? Back here with another video for you. Sorry it took me a couple of weeks to get this recorded. I've just been like meaning to do it and I keep getting caught up in other stuff. But I had a big CD update that I was planning on doing, but I think I'm going to save that for next week. Since it's been more than 2 weeks, it probably tanked my algorithmic capabilities a bit. So I'm going to do this video instead because I think the other one's much better than this. But regardless, this is a stellar stack of vinyl. I think I like to do 6 records for a vinyl update, so I got those here. Good mix of stuff, some weird kind of classic stuff that I've been meaning to pick up and finally got a hold of. I'm a big impulse purchaser when it comes to vinyl as opposed to actively ordering it, though I will order it sometimes. Regardless, I'm not talking about anything useful. We're listening to this classic in the background. This is a modern classic album. I absolutely love this album. It is just peak melodic death metal. It is atmospheric. It's just amazing, dude. I absolutely love this. Beyond the Dark Sun is one of my favorite riffs ever. The that riff, you know what I'm talking about? The intro riff of the whole album is just one of the greatest freaking riffs in death metal history. And like the the kind of power metal tinges that this band has is just stellar, dude. The atmosphere is just top notch. All right, so we're gonna get on it. So I got a stack here. We're starting off with a real banger. No beer, by the way. I just came from my work party, my work's Christmas party, and I had a beer, so I'm good already. We're starting off with a brilliant album. Dream Death with the album Journey into Mystery. So let's take this sleeve off. So Journey into Mystery is this band's debut album from 1987. If you guys don't know Dream Death, they're from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in the United States, which is, you know, not the city that I always first think of when I think of metal, but yeah, so it came on this beautiful crystal clear vinyl, which is one of my favorite variants for vinyl. It's got a great red label on it, which matches the album very, very well. Crystal clear vinyl, like I said, man, this is one of my favorite colorways for records. So if you guys aren't familiar with this band, it's like a weird mix of thrash and doom, which, you know, at first I was like, how is that gonna work? I don't really understand it at all, and I kind of didn't. This inner sleeve there, and then this really cool high roller sampler, or excuse me, high roller catalog. But yeah, when I was thinking like, okay, thrash doom, this is going to be kind of confused. I don't exactly know how it's going to be. It sounds a whole lot like Celtic Frost. This came with this poster of the stellar album cover. I absolutely love this album cover. It's super creepy, and I think it just fits really well with the 80s style of this band. So this one is, like I said, their 87 debut full-length album, but this preceded a couple of other releases. It came out with 2 demos, which is the self-titled Dream Death and then like Maze of Grave or More Graveyard Dwellings or something. Yeah, so this is a really nice cap to that part. This is, like I said, very similar to Celtic Frost. It's got even the exact same guitar tone, but alas, they did one more demo after this and then they broke up in 89. Now they're back together again, but you know, sometimes bands that reform are not quite as awesome as they once were. But regardless, dude, if you don't own this Dream Death album, you should probably get on it. It's really worth owning. You could get it pretty cheap. I mean, High Roller reissued this, which is a little expensive to get a hold of in the States with High Roller. But, you know, it's worth it. Check out, like, on YouTube, or excuse me, on Discogs, what is his name? Heavy Metal Museum. He gets a ton of High Roller catalogs, specifically CDs. Great thrash death from the US. Excuse me, thrash doom. I'm not used to saying doomy thrash. Next one, I bought off of a little bit of a sample off of YouTube, but I'm so glad I bought it. This is the band Thrasher with their album Burning at the Speed of Light. This came out in 1985. It is their one and only record. So when I listened to this, it didn't quite hit me quite so amazingly as I was hoping it would the first couple of listens, but I'm a few listens deep into this, maybe three or four. It's amazing. So the further I looked into it, I wanted to take notes for this video so I could like give you guys more than me just saying, look at the printed inner, you know, like I usually do. I want to put a little bit more effort. That's something I just want to start doing more of, just because you guys sit here and watch me, man. You guys at least deserve me like caring a little. But this is like a studio super group. It is an absolute all-star project. So it was recorded in New York, New York. And dude, it is just so good. So I wrote down who was in it because there's just so many bands that you guys would recognize. So the project has members of Riot. It's got Billy Sheehan, who is the bass player in Mr. Big. People from TKO, Hellstar, Exciter, Anthrax, Virgin Steel, Phantom Lord, Manowar, The Rods, Rainbow, and Yardbird. Which Yardbird is super weird because that is a like folk rock band from the 70s. That was it Jimmy Page's band before Zeppelin? You get my point. That is an old school band, and like all of those, all of the people from those bands, some of the people from those bands played on this album. And as you might imagine, it's brilliant. It's just perfect. So I'll give you a look at the back. I always love these 80s style collages. It is just like some songs are just killer shred fests, and then some songs are a bit softer and on the rock tinge. Great Green Combat label, which I'm a sucker for. I'm a big fan of the Combat labels. Yeah, dude. Let me see if there's a printed inner. Yeah, so there's some really good shreddy stuff. Specifically, the song, what's the name of it? Widowmaker. There is a great break in the middle of the song where it just goes to like just drums, and then the guitars trade solos off, right? And they do it for like a minute and a half, and they gradually like build back up together into starting the song again. It's a great speed metal song. I didn't check beforehand, but I presume that song has either the guy, I'm assuming that guitar player is the guitar player from Exciter, or maybe Virgin Steel, but I would presume it's Exciter, just based off of the level of absolute virtuosity. It is just catchy all over the place. It's got a really firm basis in the American metal scene. Songs like the title track have like a slide guitar played with heavy metal riffs as well in the background. So they're playing the lead with a slide, which is, you know, that sounds pretty American. I mean, blues is an American genre. But yeah, it's a great incorporation into a heavy metal record. I would highly recommend you check out the Thrasher album if you ever see it. It doesn't say anywhere on it, but the album is called Burning at the Speed of Light. Next, I had to own it. I love this album. Bolt Thrower's Realm of Chaos. Man, dude. Got the Japanese press with the Obi strip. I believe it's a Japanese press. Record Store Day exclusive version, 35 years of earache. It's a stellar album. It's one of the most classic UK death metal albums of all time. One of the most classic old school death metal albums of all time. It's a classic amongst classics. Take the Obi off so you can get that full shot. That amazing artwork. I'm very fond of Bolt Thrower. I don't listen to him super often because I'm not always in the mood for this slower paced death metal, the groovy slow paced death metal, but anytime I do, dude, I just adore it. I'm all about it. Some really cool stuff printed on the sleeve. There's just the lyrics there with some of the drawings. I'm imagining some ideas for the album cover there, which is very cool. And then some explanations of the like Warhammer warriors that are on the back, which I've never played Warhammer, but yeah, people seem to get down with it, which is really cool. Bolt Thrower in particular seems to kind of stick in my head because I had a Bolt Thrower t-shirt on underneath my suit when I got married because I don't really own a lot of white t-shirts, so I had that on underneath there. It's just a logo shirt, white logo t-shirt. But dude, there's nothing I could say about this album that you guys probably don't know. This is the first album that I ever heard from this band, which is just a great introduction. It's slow and it's doomy, and it's really well done. Yeah, that's all there is to it with Bolt Thrower. I'm not going to go too in depth with something so obvious. It's like showing, you know, a ton of like priest and maiden stuff. It's just so obvious. Something that's relatively not obscure, but I think this band is not celebrated enough. Armored Saint, their debut album, March of the Saints. It's an LA-based band, as you guys know. Their first album from '84. Before this, they had one demo, one EP, which is a self-titled, and then 2 singles that debuted before this album. Let's get a better look at that cover. Stellar. I have been contemplating getting this as a back patch for my jacket, for my vest, because I kind of wanted to get a new back patch for that one. I don't really want the Mortician one on there anymore. Just, you know, as your tastes change, you tend to just change your vests and your show clothes or whatever. Even though it sounds kind of stupid that I have show clothes, but you know, I wear the vest to shows. It's a good way to meet friends, and it is a great way to carry despicable amounts of things that you purchase. Great band photo on their motorcycles. Not a biker myself, but I appreciate it, I guess. Great airbrush of them on their motorcycles, so you know what their kind of clientele was supposed to be. If you guys aren't familiar with Armored Saint somehow, the main claim to fame is John Bush, their vocalist. He was in Anthrax for their Awful albums, which is a couple albums after Persistence of Time, like The Sound of White Noise, and then the one that's like a phone number or something stupid. Semi-translucent blue vinyl, which I'm a big fan of. Semi-translucent vinyl variants. It looks really, really good. Something about this album is I've had it for a long time on tape, right? Like, I bought a tape a good long while ago of this album, probably when I was in high school, for pretty cheap, and I listened to it maybe once or twice. And I've always like known that I liked this album in the background of my head, you know, in like the back of your head, you know, you kind of keep that stored information and stuff like that. And I've just never really dove into it until I bought the LP. I think I bought it off Melanie Loves Death Metal, if I remember right, because Melanie is always tossing stuff up on her, like her Depop or whatever it is. So I always appreciate streaming or scrolling through there and checking out the goodies, because Melanie has killer taste, and she's always like buying and selling stuff in the collection, which is cool. Yeah, really, really awesome. That was my first exposure to that band, and I'm glad I could finally really deep dive into it. Something I really picked up on this album is just like the Aerosmith tendencies. For you guys who also like traditional metal and like the proto metal hard rock scene of like the 70s, the stuff that was like the building blocks for things like this, tell me if you like hear this and think of like Toys in the Attic, Aerosmith, and you get, I feel like there's a lot of it, like a whole lot of that kind of influence, but there's also a really hard epic metal tinge to it. It's really, really great. Not just suggestive because of this, it's just got like this anthemic feel. It's not quite Manowar epic metal, but it's got a really good feel for it. I enjoy it thoroughly, and I would highly recommend that you check out Armored Saints, March of the Saints, if you guys have not ever listened to that, because you're missing out, honestly. I got another random traditional metal kind of obscurity from back in the day. This is Malice with the album License to Kill. So if you're not familiar with Malice, I get it, because I was not either. I saw the album cover. There were copies of it at one of my shops that I used to frequent, and I stopped down there when I go down to the area I grew up in. And I just checked through his metal vinyl, and he always has random stuff there, man. I have a bunch of stuff that I bought at Siren Records in McHenry, Illinois. If you guys are in the Midwest, it's worth going to. It really is. The punks, it's ran by punks. Family business, which I appreciate as well because I grew up in it. And yeah, Malice. It is a traditional metal. They're listed as like traditional and power metal on the Metal Archives. This is their second album from 1987. They were founded in Portland, and then they broke up in the late 80s. And it's different. It's listed, like I said, it's listed as heavy / power metal, but I don't see that. I'm seeing a lot more, I'm not hearing that. I'm hearing a lot more like AOR elements mixed with heavy metal, as opposed to power metal. Maybe the vocalist who's only ever been in Malice. He's never done anything else. I forgot his name. It's James Neal. He's a great vocalist. He's the most power metal part of this whole band. And everything else is mostly just traditional metal with a couple like late 80s, you know, stadium rock, stadium metal tinges to it. But, you know, I like that kind of thing. It's just Atlantic labels, nothing special there. Nice old press of this album. I'm really happy to have it. But, you know, it's not the most memorable album you've ever heard. I could say that pretty much definitively. But sometimes you don't need to have albums that stick in your head all the time. Like if every album was Warlords Deliver Us, or every album was, you know, the debut Angel Witch, or this and that, you know what I'm talking about, you wouldn't like appreciate those albums quite so much. So if you have something that's still really good, but it's not particularly knocking your socks off, it's a good listen. I would still give this like a B. And that's good. You know, B is above average, but it's not amazing. It's good. It's from the grading system, it's good comprehension. It's just not all the way there. And I feel like that's a really good way to describe Malice. If you like stuff like Wasp, I think you'd like this quite a bit. Somewhere between Wasp and like Judas Priest. Really, really well worth your time. Malice is a great, underappreciated band. And the final thing I mentioned earlier with Bolt Thrower, I'm just going to show you Judas Priest record. I picked this up from a buddy for pretty cheap. One of my homies used to be into metal, and he kind of isn't at all anymore, aside from the one-off stiffs, you know, one-off like stays with like stuff like Nails, which is a random thing to keep in your collection, is Nails compared to every other metal band that you have. But regardless, he sold me this Judas Priest album for either really cheap or he just gave it to me. I frankly don't remember. Unleashed in the East is a classic in the live albums. I'm not a huge live album guy when it comes to metal bands, but regardless, when it comes to something like this, you gotta own this. I mean, come on now. Great, great stuff. Live in Japan, obviously, as you guys probably know. So it's all songs from the first album, first 5 albums, because it's 79 that this happened. But checking the track lists and cross-referencing, they didn't play anything from Rock-a-Rolla. I didn't exactly cross-reference every album, but I did not see anything from Rock-a-Rolla on here. If I'm wrong, please feel free to let me know in the comments, because the more metal trivia nerdiness you know, the better. But that's okay, because Rock-a-Rolla is really not like my favorite album by this band by any means. I would probably say Painkiller is my favorite, which is obvious. Most people's favorite it tends to be, unless you're like a real Priest nut, you probably like Painkiller the most. Or you probably like something else more than Painkiller. But I particularly like Painkiller, and I would probably say Sad Wings of Destiny would be my second favorite Priest album. Just really, really good. So there's 2 covers on here as well. There's a song that's like the Green Manalishi, which is a Fleetwood Mac cover. I don't really like Fleetwood Mac. I've never really dug too deep into it, maybe past like a couple tunes off Rumors, and like I think I liked the album Bare Trees. So they do that, and then they also do Diamond in the Rust by Joan Baez, Judas Priest doing Joan Baez, and both of those are on the album that came out in the same year, as you guys know, Killing Machine. Really, really great stuff. I would all around say you gotta own this. I don't have it on CD. I'll get it eventually. This is a used bin pickup for me when it comes to a CD, just because if I'm listening to Priest, I just want the studio album for the most part. There's certain bands I'll pick up the live records of and prefer it, and probably Priest wouldn't be one of them, but I do nonetheless love that, and I'm very happy to have that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little update. If you guys liked me being a little bit more thorough, it's a lot of band trivia and stuff like that, let me know, because I'm sure it's better, I hope. But yeah, so go listen to some Winter Sun. They put out a new album this year. They put out Time 2, finally. 12 years in the making. Go ahead and listen to it. Seriously, this band is so epic. The power metal and melodic death metal is such a great mixture for this kind of a sound. It's just a great winterscape album. So I'll catch y'all later. Keep it greasy.